Strange lights, a sense of missing time, memories of unearthly beings. Claims of alien abduction are one of the more perplexing phenomena of the 20th century, sometimes called close encounters of the fourth kind. These experiences are said to involve humans taken aboard UFOs by aliens. In the past 30 years, there have been thousands of reports which cry out for an explanation. A logger claims he was abducted in the woods by space aliens and dropped off on the side of the road 5 days later. A performer from New York City reports being carried onto a giant UFO while his fiancée sat paralyzed in the car. Under hypnosis, a couple remember watching in horror as small gray beings snatched their baby from her crib. And two horse breeders tell fantastic stories of their meetings with aliens ever since they were little girls. There is no evidence to substantiate any of these claims, but thousands of ordinary Americans tell remarkably similar stories. Some people say these are hoaxes. Others believe they are earnest delusions. But for the rest, it's one of the great mysteries of our times. One of the best known and most controversial cases took place near Snowflake, Arizona on November 5, 1975, at a time when there were few reported cases of alien abduction. The everyday life of logger Travis Walton would never be the same. This is his story.
Well, this was a long, hard day. We had just finished work. I was tired, but I was looking forward to a long drive home.
The crew had worked until after sunset, hoping to complete the logging contract for crew boss Mike Rogers before the first snowfall. Travis, Mike, and 5 other loggers squeezed into a pickup truck. They were driving back to town when, they say, something very strange happened.
Just as soon as we got around the trees that were between us and it, we saw it hovering just less than 100 feet away. And wow, it was just like, you know, we come around these trees and wham, it's just the sight of this thing was just so intense.
Nobody else got out of the truck, just him. I wasn't about to get out.
At first I was, you know, kind of showing off for them, thinking that this thing was just going to take off before I got up close to it. But the closer I got, the more I realized it wasn't going anywhere, and I was starting to have second thoughts.
Well, I yelled at him to get the hell back from there, you know? What are you doing? You know, it looked dangerous.
I'd already decided I needed to make a run for it. I raised up and turned to go, and something hit me.
Something shot out of the bottom of this thing, and it hit him in the head and chest area. It was a beam that came down, but it created like an explosion of some kind, like an explosion of light.
I didn't know what happened after that. I was just completely out.
His companions panicked and fled, leaving Travis motionless on the ground. When they returned a few minutes later, the alien spacecraft had disappeared. They began to look for Travis.
All these tough logger guys, you know, at least we think we are, and when we get out of the truck, we meet in a huddle right in the headlights of the truck, and we start walking around looking for Travis, all in this little tight huddle, just scared to death. I was nauseated, I was so scared.
Travis was nowhere to be found. The next day, their story was all over the news. The townspeople mounted an extensive search of the grounds and combed through vast tracts of the forest for clues. When the search failed to uncover any trace of Travis, Sheriff Marlon Gillespie suspected foul play.
I was probably leaning more towards a crime of violence of some sort. I felt that eventually one of them would spill the beans and tell us what had happened.
Local gossip pointed the finger at Mike Rogers and the crew members. To clear their names, they agreed to take polygraph tests. 5 of the 6 men passed. The test on the 6th man proved inconclusive. 5 days after his disappearance, Travis says that he awoke on the side of the road a few miles from where he vanished. He staggered to a phone booth and called home.
And then when I found out how long I'd been gone, I was so blown away by that I was kind of like catatonic for a while.
These illustrations by crew boss Mike Rogers depict Travis's account of the events of the missing 5 days. Travis remembers waking up in the spaceship on a table in a sterile room, feeling tremendous pain in his upper body. Suddenly, he says, he was looking squarely into the faces of horrible creatures.
It was the most terrifying sight of my life. They were sort of human-like in form, 2 arms and 2 legs, and like that, the human arrangement of features, but they were definitely not human. The eyes, they just seemed to look right into me. There was a sort of an indifference there that I found very frightening.
Travis says he sat up, screaming at them to get away from him. He grabbed a nearby object and swung at the creatures who backed out of the room.
I was screaming all sorts of threats at them, and I was prepared to, fight my way past them to escape.
Travis describes being taken to a domed room that looked like a planetarium. When he pushed the buttons on a chair that seemed to be in the middle of space, he could see the stars. A human-like creature appeared and led him to another room where he encountered similar beings. He says he was eventually led out into a giant hangar that contained smaller spacecraft. My God, he remembers thinking, the sweet Earth could be millions of miles away. In the more than 20 years since the alleged alien abduction, not one of the loggers has come forward with a different version of the story, despite pressure from the media and offers of payment for a confession. But the questions remain.
I think that the individuals that were subjected to the polygraph examination seen something that they thought was a UFO. I believe also that Travis Walton was not taken aboard a UFO, but I believe that he truly believes he was.
I never set out to just to prove myself or to bring this to the world. It was a worldwide news story when I was returned, and so I really had no choice about it being known. I was just basically, and have been ever since, just reacting to other people's reactions, defending myself against all these accusations and trying to set the record straight.
A research scientist at MIT, David Pritchard, organized a scientific conference about abductions many years after the Walton case. He is not yet convinced that the case for abductions has been proved.
It's possible that these were caused by real aliens, but the only way that I'm going to believe it, and I don't mean just as a scientist, the only way I'm going to believe it in my heart of hearts is if we can find physical evidence.
Nobel Prize-winning physicist Leon Lederman joins other skeptics in saying Travis concocted an elaborate hoax to make money and attract attention.
To fake the story is the simplest thing in the world. I mean, we have to be skeptical about things. Why does a person do this? He does it to make money. If you look at the things you have to accept in that story, they're so much more incredible than just saying this guy is out to make a buck.
Here I'm struggling to deal with the emotional impact of what I've been through, and then to come face to face with a sort of obstinate and irrational skepticism. People wanting to attack me without even knowing the facts.
Though Travis Walton's story was portrayed in a movie based on his book, Travis claims he has profited little from his experiences.
The net effect financially has been negative. The net effect on my life has been negative. I do not enjoy the attention or the notoriety. I just wish it had never happened.
Travis remains convinced that his experience was real. Though there is no empirical evidence that it did happen, Travis replies there is no proof that it didn't. Next, a man from New York describes the experience of being abducted by aliens in a giant UFO, a ship reported to have been seen by thousands of people in the area.